Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start today with a simple yet profound truth: your time is your life. Every second, every moment, every day, it's not just a passing interval, it's a piece of you. When you waste time, you're not just being idle, you're squandering the one thing you can never get back. The first step in stopping the waste of your time is to confront a reality that most people go to great lengths to avoid: the fact that your time on this earth is finite. This isn't just an abstract philosophical idea, it's an undeniable, deeply personal truth. Your life is a limited resource, and every moment you spend is a moment you'll never get back. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also one of the most liberating realizations you can have. Think about it: how often do we live as if we'll go on forever? We waste hours, days, even years, assuming there's always more time to do what truly matters. But the reality is, the clock started ticking the moment you were born, and no one knows how much time they have left. This isn't a morbid thought, it's a call to action. When you finally accept the brevity of life, it creates a sense of urgency. It forces you to ask yourself, what am I doing with the time I have? Am I living the way I want to live? Or am I just drifting through the days? We often talk about time in abstract terms: killing time, spending time, losing time, but time isn't just something external, it's intimately connected to who you are. Time is the substance of your life. Wasting it isn't just a poor use of resources, it's a waste of yourself. Imagine for a moment that you're given a treasure chest filled with gold coins, but you're told that every day someone will take one coin away and you don't know when the chest will be empty. Would you throw those coins away on trivial things, or would you guard them and use them wisely? Now realize that your time is far more valuable than any treasure. Unlike gold or money, you can't earn more time. You can't borrow it, save it, or recover it once it's gone. It's the most precious thing you have, yet so many of us treat it as if it's disposable. We procrastinate, waste hours on meaningless distractions, and let opportunities slip through our fingers, all the while assuming that tomorrow will always be there to set things right. But what if it's not? You might think you have all the time in the world, but life has a way of surprising us. The truth is, you don't know how long you have, and that uncertainty should wake you up, not paralyze you. It should make you ask, if my time is limited, how do I want to spend it? When you start framing your life through the lens of your mortality, your priorities become clearer. The trivial things you once obsessed over start to lose their grip on you. You begin to see how much time you've wasted on things that don't matter: arguments, grudges, distractions, and endless hours of mindless entertainment. This doesn't mean you should live in constant fear of death or obsess over the passage of time. Quite the opposite. When you confront your mortality, you're not dwelling on the end, you're focusing on what you can do with the time you have. It's about becoming intentional with how you live. If you were given only a year to live, how would you spend it? What would you do differently? The truth is, you don't have to wait for some dramatic deadline to start living that way. You can choose to live deliberately right now. The problem is, most of us don't feel the urgency because we've built our lives around distractions. We numb ourselves with entertainment, social media, and endless to-do lists that keep us busy but not pro. We avoid thinking about the big questions because they're uncomfortable. But deep down, we know that every time we waste a day, it's a day we'll never get back. The good news is, it's never too late to change. No matter how much time you've wasted in the past, you can start today to make better use of the time you have left. Begin by asking yourself, what truly matters to me? What do I want to achieve, experience, or contribute before my time is up? And then, make a commitment to align your actions with those answers. Stop waiting for some vague future moment to start living your best life. That moment is now. The ticking clock is not your enemy, it's a reminder. Every second that passes is a chance to choose better, to live better, to become the person you were meant to be. When you confront the reality of your mortality, it doesn't diminish your life, it magnifies it. It makes every moment more precious, every decision more significant, and every day an opportunity to create something meaningful. Stop pretending you have all the time in the world. You don't. But that's not a reason to despair. It's a reason to act. Let's talk about honesty, the kind of honesty that forces you to take a hard, unflinching look at yourself. If you're wasting time, chances are you're lying to yourself about why it's happening. You might say, I don't have enough time or I'll start tomorrow. These excuses feel valid in the moment, but let's be real. They're just lies we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. If you want to stop wasting your time, the first thing you need to do is confront these lies head on. When you say, I don't have time, what you're really saying is, this isn't a priority for me, and that's fine until you start using it as an excuse for why you're not pursuing your goals, dreams, or responsibilities. The truth is, you have the same 24 hours as everyone else. Successful people aren't given some magical extra allotment of time. They just use their time differently. So instead of telling yourself you're too busy, start being honest about how you're choosing to spend your time. Consider this: how much time do you actually spend on things that matter? If you were to track every minute of your day, what would it reveal? Most of us would be shocked to see how much time we waste on distractions, procrastination, and trivial activities. Hours slip away while we scroll through social media, binge watch shows, or engage in pointless debates. And yet, when it comes to the things that truly matter, our health, relationships, personal growth, or long-term goals, we say, I just don't have the time. That's not the truth. The truth is, we're prioritizing comfort over progress. Let's face it, avoiding discomfort is one of the biggest reasons we waste time. When faced with a task that's challenging, boring, or intimidating, it's far easier to say, I'll do it later, but what happens? Later never comes. Procrastination becomes a habit, and that habit slowly chips away at your potential. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow turns into next week, next month, or even next year. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still stuck in the same place, wondering why you're not where you want to be. The only way to break this cycle is to stop lying to yourself about your reasons for delaying. Admit that procrastination isn't about lacking time, it's about lacking discipline. It's about choosing short-term comfort over long-term success. And the moment you recognize this, you gain the power to change it. Another lie we often tell ourselves is that we're waiting for the right time to start. We think we need perfect conditions, more knowledge, or greater confidence before we take action. But let me tell you something, the right time doesn't exist. There will always be uncertainties, distractions, and obstacles. If you're waiting for the stars to align, you'll be waiting forever. The only way to move forward is to start where you are with what you have and figure it out as you go. Think about the moments in your life when you've accomplished something meaningful. Did it happen because the timing was perfect? Or because you made a decision to act despite the imperfections? The truth is, progress doesn't come from waiting, it comes from doing. Stop telling yourself you need more time, more resources, or more clarity. Start now, and let the momentum carry you forward. Another layer of dishonesty we often don't acknowledge is how we justify spending time on things that don't align with our values or goals. We tell ourselves that we deserve to relax, or that certain distractions are harmless. And while rest and leisure are important, there's a fine line between intentional rest and mindless escapism. Be honest, are you relaxing because you need to recharge? Or are you avoiding something you don't want to face? Are you scrolling through your phone because it brings you joy, or because it numbs you to the discomfort of reality? Honesty is painful, but it's also transformative. When you start being truthful about how you're spending your time and why, you begin to see where you're falling short. You begin to realize that your excuses are just that, excuses. They're not insurmountable obstacles, they're barriers you've built to avoid taking responsibility for your life. And the good news is, you can tear them down. The key to reclaiming your time is to take radical ownership of it. Stop blaming your circumstances, your schedule, or other people for your lack of progress. Yes, life is full of challenges and demands, but at the end of the day, how you spend your time is still your choice. You can choose to prioritize what matters, or you can choose to let distractions and excuses control you. The power is in your hands. When you stop lying to yourself, you create a foundation for real change. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge, but once you're honest about where you're wasting time and why, you can start making better decisions. You can start aligning your actions with your values and taking steps toward the life you want to live. So ask yourself, where are you lying to yourself about your time? What excuses are you making, and how can you replace them with accountability and action? The truth may be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Because when you face it, you're no longer a victim of your circumstances, you're the creator of your future. When we talk about making the most of your time, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that you need to make massive, sweeping changes to your life all at once. People often think that success, progress, or transformation comes from one big, dramatic moment, a bold leap that instantly changes everything. But this is a misunderstanding of how growth and achievement actually work. The truth is, your life isn't shaped by grand gestures, it's shaped by the small, seemingly insignificant actions you take every single day. Think about it. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Do you hit snooze or do you get out of bed and start your day with intention? What do you do in those small pockets of free time throughout the day? Do you scroll through your phone or do you use that time to read, reflect, or take steps toward? Do you scroll through your phone or do you use that time to read, reflect, or take steps toward why these decisions may feel trivial in the moment, but they're not? They're the building blocks of your life. Every small action you take is like a drop of water in a bucket. One drop may not seem like much, but over time, those drops accumulate. If you consistently make choices that align with your values and goals, those choices will compound into something extraordinary. But if you consistently make choices that waste time or distract you, those will compound too into a life of missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential. The power of small actions lies in their consistency. You don't have to overhaul your life in a single day to make meaningful progress. You just have to commit to showing up, day after day, and doing the work. This is where most people stumble. They underestimate the importance of the small steps because they don't see immediate results. They expect success to come quickly and easily, and when it doesn't, they get discouraged. But here's the thing: progress is invisible at first. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. For weeks you water it, nurture it, and protect it, but nothing seems to be happening. It's easy to think your efforts are wasted. But beneath the surface, the seed is growing roots, building a foundation that will eventually support a strong, thriving plant. The same is true for your actions. You may not see the results right away, but that doesn't mean your efforts are pointless. The challenge is to trust the process. Trust that the small actions you take today, writing one page, exercising for 10 minutes, learning one new skill, or laying the groundwork for the future you want. Trust that even when it feels like nothing is happening, you're building momentum. It's also important to recognize that small actions don't just create external progress, they shape who you are as a person. Every time you choose to do something difficult, something uncomfortable, or something productive, you're reinforcing your identity as someone who takes responsibility for their life. You're telling yourself, I am the kind of person who gets things done, who doesn't give up, who strives for something better. On the flip side, every time you avoid a challenge, procrastinate, or indulge in distractions, you're reinforcing a different identity, one that's less ambitious, less disciplined, and less capable. Over time, these choices add up to define who you are. So ask yourself, who do you want to become? And what small actions can you take today to move closer to that version of yourself? This isn't about perfection. You're not going to make the right choice every single time, and that's okay. What matters is the overall direction you're moving in. If you slip up, don't use it as an excuse to give up. Learn from it and get back on track. Progress isn't linear, it's messy, but it's still progress. One of the most empowering things about focusing on small actions is that it removes the intimidation factor. Big goals can feel overwhelming. If you tell yourself you need to write an entire book, run a marathon, or build a thriving business, it's easy to feel paralyzed by the enormity of the task. But if you break it down into small, manageable steps, write one paragraph, run 1 mile, make one phone call, it suddenly feels achievable. This approach also builds resilience. When you take small actions consistently, you develop habits that sustain you through difficult times. Life is unpredictable, and there will be moments when things don't go as planned. But if you've built a foundation of good habits, those habits will carry you through. So often people wait for motivation to strike before they take action. But motivation is fleeting, it's unreliable. If you wait for it, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Instead, focus on discipline, the ability to take action regardless of how you feel. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's powerful. It's what allows you to keep going when motivation fades, and it's what ultimately leads to success. Remember, it's not the big, dramatic moments that define your life. It's the accumulation of small, consistent actions over time. Every day you're presented with countless opportunities to make choices that either bring you closer to your goals or push you further away from them. The power is in your hands. Don't underestimate it. Use it wisely. Taking responsibility for your life is one of the most powerful decisions you can make, yet it's also one of the hardest. It requires you to let go of blame, excuses, and the comforting idea that your circumstances are someone else's fault. It demands that you face the truth: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. Your life, your time, and your outcomes are entirely in your hands. This realization is both terrifying and liberating. Most people shy away from this kind of responsibility because it feels overwhelming. It's much easier to point fingers, to say, I'd be further along if only my parents had supported me more, or I can't achieve my goals because of my job, my partner, or my bad luck. These stories might feel true, and they might even have some validity. Life isn't fair, and we all face obstacles that are beyond our control. But dwelling on what you can't control only keeps you stuck. The hard truth: blaming others or your circumstances might provide temporary relief, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't move you forward. In fact, it does the opposite. It keeps you trapped. When you refuse to take responsibility, you're essentially giving away your power. You're saying, I'm helpless. My life is dictated by forces outside of me. That mindset will never lead to growth or success. Taking responsibility doesn't mean ignoring the challenges you face. It doesn't mean pretending that systemic barriers, bad luck, or other people's actions don't matter. What it does mean is refusing to let those things define your future. It means focusing on what you can control: your actions, your mindset, your habits, and your choices. Start by looking at where you are right now. Your current situation, good or bad, is a result of the decisions you've made up until this point. That might be a bitter pill to swallow, especially if you're not where you want to be. But it's also incredibly empowering. Because if your past decisions created your present reality, then your future reality is shaped by the decisions you make today. The first step to taking responsibility is to stop making excuses. Excuses are comforting because they absolve you of accountability. But they're also a dead end. Every time you say, I don't have time, or it's not my fault, you're giving yourself permission to stay exactly where you are. Instead of making excuses, start asking yourself what you can do to change your situation. Even small actions can make a difference, but you have to be willing to take them. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself about your habits and priorities. Are you spending your time in a way that aligns with your values and goals, or are you letting distractions, procrastination, and comfort take precedence? It's easy to blame external factors for why you're not making progress, but the reality is that most of the time, it's our own choices that hold us back. This kind of self-reflection can be uncomfortable. It's not easy to admit that you've been wasting time or avoiding hard work, but growth comes from discomfort. When you're willing to face the truth about your own role in your circumstances, you open the door to change. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. One of the most challenging aspects of taking responsibility is learning to accept failure without shifting the blame. Failure is an inevitable part of life, and it's often painful. But how you respond to failure says a lot about whether you're truly taking responsibility. If you blame others, make excuses, or dwell on the unfairness of it all, you're missing an opportunity to learn and grow. But if you look at failure as feedback, as a chance to understand what went wrong and how you can do better next time you're taking control of your future. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you have to do everything on your own. It's okay to ask for help, to seek guidance, or to lean on others when you need support. But even then, you have to take the initiative. No one can force you to take action. No one can make you care about your goals. That's on you. When you take full responsibility for your life, you realize that you have more power than you ever thought possible. You stop waiting for the perfect circumstances or the approval of others. You stop being a victim of your past or your environment. Instead, you become the architect of your own future. This mindset shift isn't easy, And it doesn't happen overnight. It requires constant effort and self-awareness. There will be moments when it's tempting to slip back into old habits of blame and excuses. But every time you choose responsibility over victimhood, you're reinforcing a new pattern, a pattern that leads to growth, progress, and success. So ask yourself, are you willing to take full responsibility for your life? Are you willing to let go of the excuses, the blame, and the comforting belief that your circumstances are beyond your control? Are you ready to own your time, your choices, and your future? Taking responsibility is the foundation of a meaningful life. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because when you take responsibility, you reclaim your power. You stop being a passenger in your own life and take the wheel. You decide where you're going and you do the work to get there. No one else can do it for you, and no one else is going to. It's up to you. And that's a beautiful thing. Talk about the importance of purpose. Purpose is the guiding star that helps you navigate the complexities of life, the anchor that keeps you grounded in moments of uncertainty, and the fuel that drives you to persevere, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Without a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to drift through life, going through the motions without ever really understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Purpose gives your actions meaning, and meaning is what separates fulfillment from emptiness. When you lack purpose, time becomes something you squander instead of cherish. You fill your days with distractions, busy work, and meaningless tasks because you don't have a clear vision of what really matters. It's not that you're lazy or unmotivated, it's that you're untethered. Purpose provides the structure you need to focus your energy, set priorities, and use your time wisely. Without it, life can feel like a series of aimless days blending into each other, leaving you wondering where the time went. Finding your purpose isn't always straightforward. For some, it's tied to a passion or a calling, something they've known from a young age. For others, it's a journey of exploration and trial and error. Wherever you fall on that spectrum, it's essential to engage in the process. Purpose doesn't always present itself fully formed. Sometimes it's something you uncover piece by piece as you move through life. The key is to stay curious and open to discovery. Start by asking yourself some fundamental questions. What do you care about deeply? What are your strengths, and how can you use them to contribute to the world? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? These questions may not have immediate answers, but they're worth reflecting on regularly. Purpose often emerges at the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. Finding that sweet spot requires intentional thought and effort. Once you have a sense of your purpose, or even an inkling of it, it's important to align your actions with it. This is where many people fall short. They might have a general idea of what they want to achieve or what matters to them, but their daily habits and choices don't reflect those priorities. Purpose isn't just a lofty idea you think about from time to time. It's a compass that should guide your decisions every single day. If your actions aren't aligned with your purpose, then you're not living it, you're just talking about it. For example, if your purpose is to help others, what are you doing each day to make that happen? If your purpose is to build a successful career, are you consistently taking steps toward that goal? Purpose requires commitment. It's not enough to know what you want, you have to act on it. And that means saying no to distractions, temptations, and anything that pulls you away from your path. Purpose gives you the clarity to distinguish between what's important and what's not, but it's up to you to honor that clarity. Living with purpose also means embracing challenges. Purpose isn't about choosing the easiest path, it's about choosing the most meaningful one. Pursuing something worthwhile will inevitably come with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But when you're rooted in purpose, those challenges become opportunities for growth rather than excuses to give up. Purpose gives you a reason to keep going, even when the road is difficult. It's also important to recognize that purpose isn't static. As you grow and evolve, your purpose may shift or expand. What matters to you today might not matter as much in 10 years, and that's okay. The key is to stay engaged with the process, to continually reflect on what brings you meaning and adjust your actions accordingly. Purpose isn't a destination, it's a lifelong journey. Another vital aspect of purpose is its ability to connect you to something larger than yourself. When your actions are aligned with a greater cause, whether it's your family, your community, your faith, or the world at large, you gain a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond personal achievement. Purpose gives you a reason to wake up in the morning, a reason to push through the tough times, and a reason to make the most of every moment. It transforms your life from something you endure to something you embrace. Without purpose, it's easy to fall into the trap of wasting time. You find yourself scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or getting caught up in trivial pursuits because there's nothing driving you to do otherwise. Purpose acts as a safeguard against this kind of aimlessness. When you have a clear sense of what matters to you, you're far less likely to waste time on things that don't. Purpose is the antidote to regret. At the end of your life, you won't look back and wish you'd spent more time on distractions or meaningless tasks. You'll wish you'd spent more time on the things that truly mattered, on building relationships, pursuing your passions, and making a difference. Purpose helps you focus on what's truly important, so you can look back on your life with pride rather than regret. Ultimately, purpose is what gives your time value. It's what turns minutes into moments and days into milestones. Without it, time feels empty. With it, time becomes precious. So don't wait for purpose to find you. Seek it out, nurture it, and let it guide your life. Because when you live with purpose, every moment becomes an opportunity to create something meaningful, and that is the true measure of a life well lived. In the end, life is a fleeting gift, and time is its most precious currency. Every moment you spend is a choice and investment in what matters, or a loss to distraction and inaction. To live fully, you must stop wasting your time and instead take charge of your actions, align them with purpose, and commit to the daily discipline of progress. This isn't a call to perfection, it's an invitation to responsibility. You have the power to choose how you shape your days, how you respond to challenges, and how you contribute to the world around you. Remember that greatness isn't built in an instant, it's forged in the small, consistent actions you take each day. Your purpose is the compass that gives meaning to those actions, driving you to push through difficulty and resist the lure of aimlessness. By taking responsibility for your life, aligning your choices with what truly matters, and embracing the profound power of time, you position yourself to achieve something extraordinary. Take a hard look at where you are and where you want to be. Let go of excuses, break free from distractions, and step fully into the potential that lies within you. Because when you stop wasting your time, you begin to truly live not just for yourself but for a purpose greater than you. And in doing so, you leave behind a legacy that transcends the limitations of time itself. The choice is yours. Make it count.